You are listening to When Life Gives You Lemons, the podcast that speaks to high-performing individuals who have been through adversity but come back stronger. I'm your host, Emma Levy, a physiotherapist who has helped elite athletes on their way to Olympic success. This podcast was born following my own trauma, when I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of just 36. Sat in the chemo chair, I set myself the goal of starting a podcast to explore resilience and the importance of mindset. Big news this season, we are now on Patreon. If you enjoy what you hear and want more content, ad-free episodes, or just want to support the show, please head over to patreon.com/When Life Gives You Lemons, Emma Levy, or find us on the Patreon app. A small subscription fee, the price of one coffee, makes a huge difference and will help keep me recording. So here we are, season 8. I'm going to ask you all a favour now. If you are listening on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, please follow the show. By following, rating, and even writing a review, you can really help us grow. And that is what we need. We need a sponsor to help us keep recording. And for that, we need growth. So I would love it if you could please help us out. Now on with this week's show. Today, I'm welcoming Mitch Hutchcraft to the podcast. Mitch has just completed the world's first ever and longest triathlon to the top of the world. He achieved this by swimming, cycling, and running more than 8,000 miles over 7 months, where he swam the English Channel, cycled from France to India, and then ran and hiked up to the summit of Everest. Mitch is an ex-Marine, adventurer, fundraiser and conservationist, continuously aiming to raise money and awareness of animal conservation projects. Mitch, what an honour to be chatting to you today.
Thanks for having me. It's amazing to be here.
I can't say all of that without smiling, because what you achieved is just basically phenomenal.
Thank you.
And I am really fascinated by ultra athletes. I've had a few ultra athletes on the podcast previously, because of the mindset required for you to achieve what you have done. So I really can't wait to get stuck in.
Aye.
You've only just completed the challenge back in May, is that right?
Yes, it's been about 7-8 weeks now since the summit. 11th of May was the end date, day 240.
Have you recovered yet?
No, absolutely not. I haven't stopped though, which was silly. I'm definitely delaying my recovery. It's probably I won't be recovering until after Christmas, probably. At least.
Really, physically, you still feel?
Yeah, well, apparently it's. With expeditions, kind of as a general rule, it takes a month per kind of the same time that you were doing it, kind of takes is as long as it takes. So by that theory, it won't be till February, my 33rd birthday, until I'm recovered from this one trip.
Oh, wow. And you'd done some previous challenges, hadn't you? You'd done some long rows, like you'd rode the Atlantic.
Yeah.
But what set you down this specific path to do the longest triathlon?
It's been a 26-year story, actually. So I was 6 years old, sat on the farm back where I'm from, and my nan gave me a book, The Turquoise Mountain by Brian Blessed, and he tried to climb Everest a couple of times, and that was it. From that moment, it took me about 6 months to read it because I was about 6. But from that moment, that was it. Everest was the dream. It was the goal. So ever since, I just told my nan then and there, and my dad, I'm going to climb Everest as this little 6-year-old, and they were like, laughed at me, which was great. And so from there, Everest has been the goal, and ever since a young age, I always had the dream of doing it from the beach, to go from zero to the top of the world. Just because there's something so pure in my head for that, I was like, that would just be so nice. So that was always the setting stone for it. That was the foundation for it, which then came on, and all the expeditions from my first one when I just turned 16, all the way up to 7 weeks ago. That all came down to it.
And what was your bigger why? Because you've got to have a why to embark in something like that.
I mean, people sit here and they're like, apart from my dad, which was probably the main catalyst, like when he passed away when I was 19. So he is one of my main whys. But I've always just loved, just ever since I could remember, you just can't keep me still. I'm always out seeing how far I can go. If there's a hill, I have to go up it. Just for me, anyone that sits there and says, of course I'm doing it for charity as well, like this amazing charity I stumbled across, but anyone that says I'm doing it for charity, I'm not doing it for myself, they're chatting total bollocks. The main reason you're doing something like this, anything, should be and is for yourself. It's to chase that dream and, and push myself, see how far I can go for myself. For self-growth. Everything that comes after that is an amazing bonus, and I'm passionate about it, but obviously first and foremost for me.
Yeah. So you said your dad was an inspiration. Was Massively. He an adventurer as well?
So it kind of similar kind of determination and mindset, just in a different field. You know, he grew up from the age of at 5 years old, he was working 15-hour days on a farm, driving a tractor literally at 5, and just working hard business-wise, you know, like making rash decisions like me, you know, rushing in and living his life kind of like me, but just in a different kind of way. Never the kind of athlete kind of sector. That's just kind of what I've done. Very different people, but same in the same way.
Yeah, so he was a grafter.
So hard, yeah. He just could do everything and anything, and nothing would deter him from anything. So that's where I got that from.
Yeah, what an inspiration.
Oh, definitely.
So how much was your dad in your mind throughout the expedition?
The entire thing, literally from beforehand to it wasn't for him. I doubt I would have made it through. From being on the boat, I would visualize him hanging off the side of the boat, you know, saying, "Come on," the whole way through the cycle. Whenever a car passed by, I'd imagine him in the car. On Everest, it was literally felt like he was pulling me up. It was like, I could feel it. It was so important. It was so God knows what would have happened if I didn't have him there.
So how hard was the challenge?
I mean, as hard as I physically expected. Definitely some parts were harder than I ever dared to dream. But I knew I could do it, and I knew it was possible. But the channel was the hardest day of my life by far, like ridiculous.
That was the most difficult part?
Yeah, I always knew it would be as well. You know, there's a reason why 5 times more people have climbed Everest and swam the channel.
How many people have swum the channel?
Only about 1,600, 1,700 in total, to about the 7,500 on Everest.
Yeah, so it's not a lot. So you're now kind of up there with...
Yeah, not many. It is tough, that's for sure. And one of the reasons why I was so drawn to it, definitely.
And it's a 35-kilometre swim,
yes,
is that right?
Yeah,
and you do it all in one?
All in one, non-stop. Like, you can't touch the boat, you can't do anything. And I've never swam competitively, I've never been part of a club. I just literally quit work 18 months ago, being a strong swimmer, but never have done any training. I had 6 months just to get ready for the hardest day of my life. And it was it was 18 hours, 19 minutes. It took 5 hours longer than it should have done. The worst conditions of the entire season. 13 boats left England, and ours was the only one that made it at that time, later on in the day. The only other person in the entire day that made it was my friend who I trained with, who's much, much quicker than me, nearly a professional swimmer. And he got there before the weather turned. So yeah, the last 5 hours, it was a condition where it was the conditions where the boat would have never even left the harbour if it had been like that when we started.
Like stormy conditions, basically.
Yeah, like just crazy choppy waves. It wouldn't have been. The wind state was crazy.
And they don't make you get out safety wise.
A lot of people did. Like all 11 other people who were swimming the channel that day, all of it got cancelled. They all got pulled out. One guy who was doing arc to arc, who I met in Dover, he got pulled out 500 metres from the French coast. Because it was too dangerous.
So how come no one pulled you out?
Because my coach said, "Don't. He's going to do it," and they believed him. And I had to scream one time when I was nearly drowning, "I'm not stopping!" I was the only one that got past it. It was horrible. God. Yeah. So.
And you're not wearing a wetsuit, are you?
No.
So buoyancy wise, and
I sink as well. Yeah, I am a sinker. So bad. It's it's definitely. I trained a lot in. The last 6 months leading up to it, I did a world record in the Lake District a month before, swimming in fresh water to get used, because obviously you float better in the salt. So at least I thought if I can swim in fresh water, I can do it in salt water. So even though that messed me up and gave me tendonitis and I was kind of injured for 2 weeks, I'm happy I did it now, because it gave me the confidence going into it. All right, well, I know I can float just about. And
what about like the jellyfish? You read about jellyfish?
Yeah, I swam into quite a few. Luckily, none stung me. I got stung a lot in training, like down in Devon and that where I live and that. I got stung loads down there, but never once during the channel. Very lucky. Even though there was a lot, I swam into loads and bumped into them, but there was never. And luckily, it must have just been on the outside and never the tentacles. So it was quite good. I was very, very lucky. But at that point, it would have been nice. Maybe just would have woke me up a bit and just made me feel alive.
How do you fuel As you're
on
like
the swim.
18 hours.
Yeah, so every 30 minutes on the dot, they chuck you a bottle basically on a big bit of string, and you literally just have to neck it in 10 seconds as quickly as you can straight back.
No hard food at all.
So you get given maybe half a banana every hour or 2 hours, a couple of hours, half a banana. You just have to kind of inhale. But no, the food is like they'll have one of the feeds will be like liquid, will be like hot. It's always hot, will be like stop you getting hypothermia. Will be like a kind of more of a thick kind of shake, not a shake, but carbs
something.
rather than it's not just electrolytes. It's every single feed is different, and it's all amazing. Like the coaches are amazing. Neil's my coach in Red Top Swimming from London. There, like the whole strategy of it is so kind of the science behind it is
really.
It's so crazy. You wouldn't think it. You wouldn't think of it, but it is incredible.
So I've done a 2-mile swim, which was Swim Serpentine in London. And that's why I'm so fascinated by this, because I found a 2-mile swim really hard.
I found it hard as well before I done anything more. It's okay though. Once you just get into that kind of mindset and you zone out, and once you learn how to swim efficiently, it's okay. But staring down into black nothingness. That's it. Just into black nothingness for 18 hours.
18 hours, you're staring into black. I can't even imagine the depths that your mind must take you to.
It took me a long time to kind of process it. I think it wasn't until I got to like Iraq on the bike. It took me about 3 months to even process it. To kind of, that's why even now I'm sat here. I haven't processed it yet. I haven't. It will be at least start of next year before I start to kind of really come down or realise kind of what I've done. It's going to take a while.
Because so then you get into France.
Yeah.
And how quickly do you get on your bike?
Well, I was planning it just to literally be kind of a couple of day turnaround to get my bike sorted, get ready, but it broke me. Like it gave me tonsillitis, like the worst I've ever had it. I inhaled 5 litres of seawater. I couldn't breathe. I'd aspirated so much water. It took 3 days just for the water to leave my lungs. My tongue was literally falling apart. To the point, like if you see when Ross Edgy swam around the UK, there's like a video of his tongue.
I've seen
I was
that.
in the water 3 times longer. So it was kind of, imagine that times 3. That's what my tongue was like, because I think he was doing 6 hours on, 6 hours off. But I was in there for 18 and a half hours.
So that's the salt water, isn't it?
Salt water just dissolved the tongue. I was completely done. Like I couldn't sit up. It took me, my girlfriend had to kind of, if I had to sit up in bed, she had to sit me up. It took 2 people for me to go to the toilet, literally like this. I had to pee in a pint glass in the room for the first 2 days because I physically couldn't move. And,
was that exhaustion?
It was just exhaustion. The body was, my right shoulder had seized about 10 hours in, tendonitis in my entire wrists along here. So I was kind of swimming like one-handed, but then pain, agony on this side. So it was, just general, like my, you can imagine, the hip flexors get tight when you swim. I was just like, I just couldn't move. It was pure like harder than anything I'd ever done. It was, I'd never been that broken before. 10 times worse than anything in the Marines, anything like I've done previously. So it was interesting. So it took me, so that's why it took a bit longer than I expected. It took me I lost 2 kilos just in like them 2 days from when I swam and when I done there. So it took me a while just to get back. So I literally just basically just laid there for 5-6 days, passed out in this cottage in Calais, in Wasson, the village where you swim into on the beach. And but after 6 days, just about managed been eating for 2 days. For about 48 hours I've been managing to actually get stuff down. And then so it was 6 days after I swam the channel that I managed to get on the saddle to begin a 11,920 km bike ride.
From France to India.
From France to India, yeah.
So you literally just went through like across the world, basically.
Yeah, basically. It was exciting. And the first 2,000 from Calais to Budapest, I also, for a lot of it, I towed my golden retriever. I had my golden retriever with me in the doggy trailer. And he joined me. Yeah, he joined me for the first 5 countries.
Which was amazing. He didn't want to jump out?
He did, yeah. He got used to it a little bit, but a lot of the time he would just kind of run beside me and have a great time because he's cute. Lovely. He's fit as a fiddle. We'd be cycling along the Danube and the Rhine, and he'd just be coming along there, But once we got to Budapest, he then went back because it's a good job we did, because as soon as you get to Eastern Europe, to like Serbia, Turkey, obviously Iraq, hundreds of dogs. I've been chased by literally probably 500 dogs, nearly killed by the dogs chasing me into lorries and stuff so many times. So I'm glad he turned around, because it would have just been too much for him, that's for sure. And
so were you by yourself on the cycle, or do you have a support crew?
Oh, literally just Stan, my cameraman. Like at that point between Budapest and the Iraqi border, we'd bought a banged up old school bus from 1995 that my friend drove from London to Budapest. Ripped the seats out, and then when he tried to get rid of the seats in a Serbian scrapyard, he got held up at gunpoint, which was quite funny. They were trying to insist on paying for the seats, and we were just like, no, just take them, that's fine. And then when we refused to take money, he got out a Magnum. And take the gun. It's all on the videos on the YouTube and the Instagram. Wow. It's just hilarious. So it was literally just Stan basically, and in this van, and this 23-year-old lad, driving and cameraman and editor, just us two. Literally, we'd meet halfway throughout the day, maybe he could take a few pictures and film a few videos, and then we'd pick every day. You didn't know where we were sleeping every day for 8 months, for 6 months. So I'd pick an endpoint wherever it would be, wild camping. And when we had this van, this school bus, it was just like wild camping in the back of this van in the mountains or wherever it was, or a cheap motel, whatever we could find. Literally, It was just wherever you could get your head down at the end of every day, and that was it. So there was technically support, but it wasn't like a support crew.
No, it wasn't like a physio, nutritionist, physiologist. No. It was just sad.
It was, but even that was great, because originally it was going to be just me on my own. I would have done it completely on my own. I know that for a fact, but it was made that much better because of having him. So made that much kind of easier and just less lonely.
So it was 6 months on the bike every day?
4 months.
4 months.
So it was pretty much 4 months of 50k a day, 4 months straight.
How was your body?
It was okay, because the cycling, I knew it would kind of be the least kind of demanding once you get into a rhythm. After 10 days, and once the body was broken in, after the swim, I knew that it would take a while to get used to it. But when I did, I knew it would be okay, which it was. You just get, as I know, as kind of tried to prove to everyone and tell to everyone, your body gets amazing. It conditions, and you haven't got to. Same reason I did like zero cycling training apart from a tiny little bit before leaving, because there was no point, because
it was your training.
It would have impeded my swim training if I'd taken too long cycling, and everything was riding on the swim day one. It could have all been over, and I knew from 2 years ago in my because it's been a 4-year kind of training plan for this. 2 years ago, I hadn't cycled more than 80 miles a day, so I took my bike to Florida and cycled to California. 5,000k across the US from Atlantic to Pacific. So I knew from that. That's why I did that trip, because I knew from that how many k's I could average roughly without being killed to be able to maintain it the next day. And that was the whole thing. It was like maintenance. I've been working with Loughborough, all the top physios, nutritionists, sports scientists. Everyone was just so fascinated. Like, is this humanly possible? No one knew, because it's an ultra marathon, not a sprint. The whole thing was like maintenance. Obviously, getting to Everest, and my being in a physical state where I can climb it without literally dying. Yeah. That was the question. Can I do a 13,000k triathlon and then be in a state where I can climb to the highest mountain, to the summit of the highest mountain? So that was the hard balance, trying to find how far can I push myself every day, but not to push myself. I could have been doing 250k days, but I would have, and I got there a lot quicker, but then I could have, broken myself. Would have much rather obviously not taking it slow, don't get me wrong. I was still cycling 9 hours a day for 4 months straight. And, but to get there, it was always a hard balance to get there with just, with enough reserves to be able to not die, basically. Yeah.
But your body does condition, like you just said.
Massively.
So when you get off the bike in India and suddenly you've got to run because you ran from India to Nepal.
The hardest thing by far. Because I've had 2 knee surgeries. I wasn't even meant to be able to join the military because I had an ACL reconstruction and all sorts. So I always knew, a non-weight bearing sport is one thing, cycling, I knew that. But the biggest challenge probably was always going to be going from, that's why obviously I had 0 running training, 0 hiking training, because there was no point, because after 4 months of cycling, your body is 100% conditioned to cycling. They're 2 polar opposite sports, running and cycling, obviously. The muscles used. So there's no point, because it would have been cancelled out. Any training I'd done for running or for hiking would have been cancelled out in the bike ride anyway. But then to transition from just under a 12,000k bike ride straight into a 900k ultra marathon, having not ran 1 mile in 6 months. The last time I'd run a mile was obviously back in, when I'd done this world record in the Lake District in August, so it was February when I finished the bike ride. So 6 months, I had not ran 1 kilometre, to then go within 2 days of finishing the bike ride, to then go straight into a 877k run was always the test. And it was as bad as I ever
Really?
as I ever, like
Did it
on the
hurt?
worst painkillers on the strongest painkillers you can imagine, like limping, like literally in tears. Half of it I'd be limping, like knees swollen up like crazy, but just kept pushing. And then after about a week or 10 days, I kind of felt a little click, felt the body finally. It's just been kind of driven into submission, and it just kind of got used to it. I was like, thank God for that.
And then it was all right.
Then it was all right. Then it was like, well, first week was obviously, like anything could happen now. My knee could, I know I've got the mental determination to finish it. I would have had, I would have collapsed before I gave up, but it was having had knee surgeries and all this, going into that 900k ultra marathon after that bike ride, I was like, right, this is going to test the body the most, apart from the swim. This is going to really test the body, and
that was painful. Tough. It just shows how important the mind is, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're embarking on an ultra.
Yeah.
I mean, that's mad. How many days did 900k take?
800. I mean, how long was it? I mean, it's averaging about 35k a day running. Which was only, which was, the minimum target was like 33k. So I always done a bit more than that. And then I'd up it to like 38k, and then managed to do a few marathons in 1 week, which was good. I can't even remember, to be honest.
Must have been
I can't even remember.
It was about a couple of months.
No, I think it was about 3 weeks.
Oh, it was only
something
3
like
weeks.
that. It was like 3 weeks. 3 weeks from sea level, from the ocean to Kathmandu.
Okay, so like that was at least the shortest period. So in your head, you must have felt
compared to the bike ride, it was just, I was just so happy to be getting towards Nepal, because after 56 days in India, we'd had enough of India. That's for sure. And we wanted to get to Nepal, definitely. Right. I mean, just because the food, the food after 56 days was just like, I need something different here, trying to survive, and because nutrition was a big thing, and everyone asked, what do you do for nutrition? Easy. I just ate everything as often as I could. That's all you can't plan nutrition. You can't have a nutrition plan for, or same way you can't plan where you're sleeping every night. You can't plan logistically for something like this, because injury, your route might change. So much goes wrong. You literally just have to wing it.
You've just got to take on calories, basically.
Yeah, it was literally a case of just eating as much. I was still burning 5,000 to 6,000 calories every day for 7 months. So but I only lost 17 kilos in the end.
Only
3.5 stone, which wasn't as bad as I expected. That's not quite as bad as we expected, to be honest.
Wow.
95 when I swam the channel. 95 when I swam the channel, when I was 78 or 79
my goodness.
when I swam at Everest. Wow. So it wasn't too bad.
So you get into Nepal, and then that you're basically going to climb Everest.
Yeah, so when I got to Kathmandu, it was like, right, all that was left after that was a 360k hike, and then climb Everest. But I knew that the hike was underestimated. That was really hard. It was the hottest part of the entire expedition, hotter than the entire Middle East and the Arabian desert. It was so hot, like 33 degrees every day with a big pack on.
Wow.
Trekking through the valleys in the dry season, across landslides and all this. But I had a bit more of a kind of break after the run to get ready for the walk. But that was amazing, because we got to stay with the British Embassy and the British Ambassador and stuff like this.
Oh, really?
Got to, literally, so back in 1953, when Hillary and Tenzing first climbed Everest, there was no hotels. So I found out when I finished the run to Kathmandu, the ultra, the British Ambassador, as well as loads of media, was waiting for us, which was really cool. And they told us this story. And obviously I was like, can we do it? So we done the exact same thing. So I stayed, I literally replicated what Em and Hillary did. So I stayed me and my girlfriend Nikki came over. So we were in the VIP suite of the British Embassy, and then woke up and I had breakfast with the British Ambassador, and then got sent off by him, given the flag, exactly the same thing that happened. So we literally replicated history, followed the same route as well. So exactly what they did. So with the first climb of Mount Everest in history, with the longest climb of Mount Everest in history.
Oh, that's amazing. So
literally, it was great to make history whilst following in the footsteps of these heroes that I grew up with.
And
crazy.
Did you have a support crew at this point?
Well, not until I got to Everest. It was just, we had a couple of friends join us for the hike, but until we got to the start of the base camp trek, it was just me and Stan. Again, completely it was just me and him carrying his kit. He carried most of it. He was a beast.
He did the actual hike?
He done the whole hike from Kathmandu, 360k, to Everest Base Camp, as well as climbing Le Boucher, which is a 6,100 metre peak, and filmed it as well. So
that's
he was
amazing.
very good.
Okay, so then you get to base camp, and that's when it gets hairy, isn't it? Because people don't make it But like some people can't even get beyond base camp.
No. That's when it gets tough. So once we got to base camp, 360k later, that's the kind of, it's like a 3-week process of acclimatizing, going up, coming down. So we started off with this mountain, like I mentioned, a 6,100 meter peak, Le Boucher East, and so we started that. That was our first rotation, our first training climb. Came back to base camp. Then we climbed up to just before. That was just me then. Me and Gelji, my Sherpa. We're really close friends. He's an absolute legend. And we climbed up to just before Camp 3 on Everest, and then come back down again. And then that was it. Then we had to wait for the window. It was basically wait for the lines to be the ropes to be fixed to the summit, and wait for the weather window basically, and that was it. So
who fixes the lines?
So every year, a different team, a different company. Sherpas from a different company team, they kind of each year they take it in turns for who sets the ropes up basically. Yeah, across the most dangerous part of Everest, which is the Khumbu Icefall, the big glacier between base camp and Camp 1. That's done by the SPCC, who were the amazing, like the ice doctors. You may have heard of the ice doctors. So these are like the Sherpas who basically set the ropes for this entire jagged maze of ice and glacier, and the ladders you see across the crevasses and stuff like this. That is incredible, yeah. And wow. Gelji, my friend, he done that for 5 years before he went on to guide in the big peaks. It's incredible. So
so you come back to base, and then once the weather is okay, do it in one.
Once the lines are fixed, that's it. You then from base camp, it's a 3-day push from base camp to the top. Once you've done all your training climbs and all your acclimatization, your body's knackered at this point. I didn't have a voice for 3 weeks. I completely lost my voice. It was like, wouldn't be able to speak right now to you. It was crazy. So then from base camp, you go one big push from base camp all the way to Camp 2. Then from Camp 2 to Camp 3. These are all different days. Camp 3 to Camp 4, and then you're in the death zone. So that's Camp 4.
The death zone?
The death zone starts at Camp 4.
Why do they call it the death zone?
Because as soon as you're above 8,000 metres, it's too high for helicopters. If something happens to you there, essentially you're dead. That's why it's called a death zone, unless you get carried down, which is at that altitude is near on impossible, But people do this year, loads of people will say, because the Sherpas are just incredible. And so many silly people go up there and they don't know when to turn around. When they're told to turn around, they don't turn around. Luckily, me, Puri and Gelji, my Sherpas, we were like brothers. We had such a good connection. And if they said turn around, I would have turned around, So you get to Camp 4 and then just have a few hours rest. And then it's an 11-12 hour push to the summit from 9 o'clock at night until we were summited about 7 o'clock in the morning, which was crazy. That was unbelievable, yeah. And then you come all the way back down to Camp 2, sleep, and then back to base camp. So it's a massive 4 or 5 day push from base camp to the summit and back again after all that rotations and stuff. It was it was incredible.
Mega. And when you're at the top, you need oxygen?
Yeah, so from Camp 3, that's when you put oxygen on. Yeah.
As in so you're climbing with a mask?
Yeah, from Camp 3 onwards. Yeah, because the oxygen level was like ridiculously low. So it's
quite a laboured job.
Yeah. I mean, some people do it without oxygen. Like Adriana, who is my friend, she's the youngest woman to climb the 14 peaks. She's amazing. Her and Gelji, my Sherpa, are together. They're a couple business partners and together, which is a dream team. They're the people that basically who I done Everest with. They're amazing, and. So she's only 24. She's done a couple without oxygen. She's climbing Everest next year without oxygen. Without oxygen.
Is there enough oxygen for her to be able to do that?
70% less than what we're breathing now. Than what we're breathing now. So we're breathing a rate of 100% oxygen. So up there it's at 32%.
Oh, that's mad.
So it's like, it's crazy how it's crazy. But to try and climb your first 8,000 metre peak without oxygen would be stupid and so irresponsible.
Yeah, of course.
And you're putting lives at risk. Yeah. But even then, it's like, anyone that says it's not cheating or anything like that.
Of course it's not cheating.
Since it was first climbed ever, since it was first climbed by Hilary Tenzing, since then, that is how the mountain's been climbed. It's not as if it was always climbed without oxygen. Yeah. And then they brought in oxygen to make it easier. That is how you climb 8,000 metre peaks. Yeah.
As you're climbing and at the death zone, is it true that you actually see corpses?
Yeah, I literally had to step over 2. So about 100 metres from the summit, You know, that's why it's a bit of a sombering feeling. You know, you're there, you're nearly there. It was everything I ever dreamed of. The sun came up, lit up the whole world below me in gold. You know, it was incredible. But then you have to kind of literally, you think that's a rock, and then it's literally a person. Like the mask's still on, boots still on. They've been there for 2 years, like looking up at you. It's you have to literally step around. There was 2 bodies no more than 100 meters from the top that we had to step around.
Oh my goodness! So they're just left there. They're literally left there.
Yeah. Because especially up up that last few hundred meters, you know, helicopters can't get that high. You can't be rescued. If something happens there, you're dead.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that must feel stepping over there.
Yeah, it was a bit weird. Yeah, it's a bit like just a reminder that the top is halfway. Even if it's Snowdon, the top is halfway. You can't not concentrate, you know, until you get down. Base camp is the summit.
Really?
Base camp's the finish line.
Because you've got to get down.
You have to get down. Yeah. Even then, like the most dangerous part of Everest by far is between Camp 1 and Base Camp.
Why is that?
There can be icefall. It's just a giant glacier filled with 300-400 foot crevasses, and that you're literally climbing over these tiny little ladders, you know, and at any moment, avalanche. Literally, there's 4 avalanches a day, like everywhere, avalanches
so
and
dangerous.
stuff, and yeah. So you can't relax until you're back at Base Camp. So that's why, like in the videos, you know, when I get back, it's not till I get back to Base Camp that I actually like properly get emotional, because it's like, you know, even officially, unless you get back to Base Camp, you haven't climbed Everest. You could get to the summit. So I was at the summit with people with only I was so lucky as well, probably less than 5% of people that have ever climbed Everest, with like no one. Because after all this, luckily enough, we were the first few people, the first people in the entire year to climb Everest. The first people. So as well as it being the longest climb in history, we were the first people to climb it the entire year. And the only other people up there was a few like Chinese climbers and stuff. And but they got really sick and they got back down to Camp 2 after the summit and had to be evacuated by a helicopter.
Oh my goodness.
But they haven't officially climbed Everest because they didn't get back to Base Camp.
Oh, so you've got to get down to Base Camp. So then when you got down to Base Camp, how did that feel?
It's just a surreal feeling, you know. I just walked back to the tent and just kind of just fell down, and it was just everything, just 26 years rolled into that, and I just couldn't believe it. It was mental. It was just incredible.
How long did that feeling last for?
I've still got it. Yeah, definitely still got it, I think. Yeah, I'm still riding it and see. Hopefully, I don't think it'll ever end. You know, it was just everything. It was amazing.
Oh, it's just a phenomenal achievement. And you fundraise for a mental health charity.
Yeah, it was all for SavSim. So I found them a couple of years ago, just before cycling across the US, combining 2 amazing things that I love: mental health and veteran mental health and wildlife conservation. So they've literally made a mental health course here in London, at London Zoo, Whippersnade Zoo, 2 courses a year at the moment, where they bring in people struggling who are transitioning into civilian life. And they've made a mental health course using wildlife and nature to treat PTSD and all that, called the Warriors of Hope course. And as well as that, they also use the skills of these people, veterans, send them to Africa, places like that. So they send people over to train the anti-poaching units to save the rhinos, save elephants, all this kind of stuff. So I'll be going over there in a couple of months. I'm going over to do a rhino conservation project. So helping to train the rangers and all this, which is going to be amazing. And
so you are an ex-Marine. How long were you a Marine for?
Just under 6 years, about 5.5 years. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't that long. It was amazing. I learned so much from it. I wouldn't have done what I've done without being in there. And it really helps it hones and forges that mindset so much more. It's so much more. You know, there's a reason why a lot of people doing this kind of stuff are ex-military, because you have that mindset.
Do they teach you that mindset, or does it just come with you
I mean, everyone says that, like, you have it or you don't. It's as simple as that. You don't. You know, same reason why you don't pass training in the military, especially the Marines and stuff, unless you do have that, unless you already have that mindset. It definitely enhances it and carves it and sharpens it and hones it so much more. You know, it definitely does that. So, which I'm so thankful for. You know, I don't know whether I definitely wouldn't have had the opportunities I've had if I hadn't been in the Marines. You know, and the only reason I rode the Atlantic was because I'd been in the Marine, and that's where how the opportunity came up, and that's where I got the idea for Limitless during that, you know, and all of this stuff wouldn't have happened unless I'd done it. So
I've had a few ex-Marines on the podcast, so I've spoken to quite a lot of you, and I had JJ Chalmers as a guest.
Oh, yeah.
And I talked to him about the marine values and finding humour in the face of adversity.
Cheerfulness in the face of adversity.
That was it, cheerfulness in the face of adversity.
That's one of the chapters of the book.
Oh, is it?
Literally one of the chapters of the book. And it's one of the, one of the main topics in my talks, yeah.
But I find that fascinating, and that's why I wonder if they taught it to you or if you just kind of.
It's definitely it is taught. You know, you come to, you know, but something that does come naturally to you. You know, it's a coping mechanism. You know, if you can smile and if you can just smile through anything, you know, and that's the whole thing. Is, you know, you can channel adversity into power by simply changing your perception, by your mindset. That's all it is. So when things get really bad, it kind of comes down to, you know, pain is temporary. So another chapter in the book is like strategic pain management. It's as simple as that. As long as it's not permanent and it's always an end, then you can smile about it.
Yeah. That's
it. As long as it never is never, whether it's physical, psychological, mental, emotional, whenever, there's never an issue that's going to be lasting forever. Whether you're in pain, you're running for another hour, whether you've just been through grief, you just lost your mum or your dad or your whatever, it's going to hurt for a while, but all you need to think is it's temporary. Whether it's a minute, whether it's an hour, whether it's a year, it will end. So, you know, once you adopt that mindset, you can kind of just smile and get through it. I'm quite lucky to think that way. Not everyone does, but yeah, anyone can do it.
Yeah. So why do you think that way?
I think I'm just quite blessed, you know. ADHD, I've always had a positive mindset and like always seeing the glass as half full, you know. And I don't know, just through life's trials and through the loss of my dad, I've lost family members to suicide, and I've just managed to always, I don't know how exactly, but just managed to always see a positive side in everything. Because like I said, there always is. It's as simple as just thinking that way. It sounds crazy, but it literally is. Like, you have a conscious choice. If you lose a brother, if you lose your mum, you lose your dad, you lose anyone, you have a conscious decision for it to break you or for it to forge you. It's as simple as that. You can either let it break you or or carry it on with you, and you can channel it. All it is one tiny change in how you see things, one tiny change in mindset. It can light a spark inside you that will push you further than you ever dreamed.
Yeah. And do you think people are talking more about mental health implications when you leave the military now? Because I know historically it wasn't really
it's very bad. Yeah, now it's amazing. Well, no, sorry, it's not amazing. That's definitely a lie. But I know it's much better than it was. Yeah, it's much better. There's now a lot more help available, you know, and which is one of the main reasons, you know, why I love doing all these talks and podcasts and stuff, because it's just seeing it help even one person makes it all worth it, you know, it all worth it, that's for sure.
So your mental health has always been okay?
Yeah, I've been quite lucky. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say like I haven't, you know, kind of suffered, but everyone has. But I always look at it as, I've lost my dad, I've lost family members to, like, you know, taking their life. But I always think it could be worse. My dad died at 58. The way I always think is, at least I knew my dad.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm hard done by because he died at 58. I think I knew him up until you know, I could remember him. We had great times. I'm thankful for that. Yeah. That's the way I see things, and everyone can think that way. Everyone can think that way. Yeah. And don't look at what you haven't got. Just look at what you've got and what the times you've had. Simple as that, really. So it's what you make of it. It's, as I say, it's just the way you see the world. Yeah. A change in mindset. Tiny little change, and that's the difference between happiness and sadness.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you have any specific strategies that you've used over the years with those difficult things that you've encountered that help you switch that mindset?
It's just, like Ross, as you put it best, you know, resilience is literally just everyone's different as well. You're completely different to me. Every single person has their strategic plan to manage pain. So all resilience is, by definition, is one person's strategic ability to manage pain. All I'd say to people, and all I've done, easiest formula is find what drives you, find what makes you happy, find why you're doing something. You know, that's why another chapter of the book is like purpose beyond self. Mm-hmm. So for me, Dad, the charity, now it's having like messages from kids saying they've signed up for their first marathon because they've been watching the story. You know, so me, it's for myself, make my dad proud. Everyone else that has died looking down on me. For you, it could be your son, your daughter, your kids. It could be anyone. It could be your other half. It could be anything. The charity. So for me, the easiest way I've dealt with it in the past is finding these channels. And then when things get really hard, whatever it is, you just blank everything else out around you and just focus on one thing, one of them things. And then when that wears out, flick to the next channel, then flick to the next channel, then go back to the start. And before you know it, it's over. Whatever you've been worrying about, whatever you're doing, it's over. Yeah. That's the only way that I get through it. Yeah. That's how I've got through it so much in the past. And it all comes back to another key lesson. Another chapter of the book is, the power of compartmentalization. It's as simple as that. Just break things down. I've just come back from a trip with my good friend Ollie Ollerton, and it's literally, he talks about the 1 metre squared. It's as simple as that. Just imagine you're 1 metre squared around you. That's all you can control is what's there, and just make a decision. Get past that 1 metre, and then one step at a time, slowly.
Yeah, you can only control what you can control.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. Trust me. Not worrying about things that are out of your control. I've really struggled with that in the past. But the more you do it and the more you put yourself in that position, the more you just learn to deal with it. But that is the main thing. There's no exact science. No, with when I do my talks in my book, there's no I'm not here to sell or tell you a rigid 1-step plan of how to do it, because there's not one. Anyone tells you there is one, again, that is bollocks, because every single person has their own strategy. Every person is completely different. Same reason why your why is different to my why. Every single person is different. But the only factor that is fact and true is that the only way to deal with it is to get out there. The only way to deal with it is to put yourself in it. The only way to deal with it is to get comfortable, being uncomfortable, and finding your reasons, and finding your why. Because whatever it is, again, I don't know. There's no formula for it, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah, I agree that we're all different. I do agree with that, but I think it's really important as well what is your why? But also, I think listening to other people's reasons and methods and strategies, and trying to kind of just glean a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of that. Definitely. And then we can just better ourselves. Yeah.
So all I do is all I want to do is kind of just tell how it's worked for me. And compartmentalization, this strategy of breaking down your why and then focusing on one at a time. And a lot of people will be able to relate with. And as long as someone takes just one thing away from that, then that's great. And, then they've started their own journey, which is great.
And final question for you, Mitch. If you could go back in time to when things were at their toughest, whenever that might have been, what do you wish you could have told yourself as you were going through that?
Well, it's a good question. Trying to back through what would be the toughest, emotionally or physically. Probably would have been because I even though I do preach about it, I get very anxious and I overthink everything. So I would go back to what we just spoken about. I'd go back to just before the expedition started, and I was just so stressed. And even though I believed it would work out, I would just tell myself, I'd give myself a slap in the face and say, just relax. That's what I'd say to anyone as well. Just genuinely, you can't, all you can do is what you can do. You can't control the uncontrollable. And you just believe in yourself. And I do genuinely think that if you're just relentlessly positive and you manifest that, it will happen for you. That's what I think. So I would have just said, that's what I would have done. I would have said to myself, given myself a good slap and just said, do not worry. Yeah. Stop worrying. Even now I worry about stuff that I shouldn't, so I'm by no means perfect. Yeah. A lot of stuff I talk about, it's because I know I need to do it myself. That's why I talk about it. Probably, it's all a big circle.
Definitely, we waste a lot of time worrying.
No, too much, and it's just such a waste.
Yeah, we just, like you said, believe.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Yeah, simple as that.
And thank you, Mitch. Thank you so much. Like I said at the very beginning, I am fascinated by ultra athletes and the mindset. So it's been amazing to kind of tap into that today.
Oh, thank you.
And I just really look forward to seeing what's next, because I imagine there is going to be something
Absolutely, next. Yeah, lots of stuff coming, that's for sure.